Hannah Arnold joins us this week for a show sponsored by the Embroiderers Guild of America, where they are inspiring passion for needle arts through education and the celebration of its heritage. There's still plenty of time to register for the EGA National Seminar November 12 to 16 in Dallas. Included in that event is the two-day Sampler University, which is open to members and non-members. Deadline to register is August 15. Can't make it to the National Seminar? Visit egausa.org to find a treasure trove of classes, stitch-alongs, free projects, and regional events. Don't forget the ever-popular virtual lecture series. The next available lecture is Embroidered Treasures from the Middle Ages at the Anagni Cathedral in Italy, presented by Dr. Jessica Grimm. The lecture date is Saturday, July 12 at 1 o'clock p.m. Eastern. Registration opens June 19. Most important, join the EGA. It will expand your stitching horizons. Thanks to the EGA for sponsoring this week's show, and now our conversation with Hannah Arnold of Sherwood Forest Embroidery. Welcome back. I'm Gary Parr, and you're listening to Fiber Talk, the twice-weekly podcast for needlework artists, plural, whatever. Our artist this week from Sherwood Forest Embroidery is Hannah Arnold. Hannah, welcome.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Oh, boy. Thanks for doing this. All right, we're going to talk about the embroidery and the kits and the classes and all that stuff in a minute, but you have a workspace. You call it a she shed. I would call it a he shed. That I got to say, you win. Because the pictures, and I'll put a couple of pictures in, because you've got, it looks like a rustic building, but you've got this big porch, and it's just in this woods environment with gardens around you. Oh, man, tell me how this happens.
Yes, thank you. We live in an area of Southeast Michigan that's kind of like a pocket of rural that still exists in Southeast Michigan.
Okay. Got to interrupt you because I'm from Michigan.
Oh, you are? I
Okay.
didn't realize that.
Yeah.
I'm in Ortonville.
Oh, born in Flint, grew up in Clio.
Oh my gosh! Wow. Yeah, my husband worked in Flint for a long time.
There we go. Okay.
Yeah.
I know right where you're at.
I didn't know that. Yeah. Yes, we're by the dairy farm.
Okay.
Cooks. Everybody knows Cooks in the area.
Yep, I know the area. Yep.
Yeah. So we are in this kind of weird pocket where we're 20 minutes from a Great Lakes Crossing, which is a huge shopping center, but we're on 10 acres in the woods. So it's kind of this weird pocket of rural, like I said. So we have lived here since 2014, and my husband built the shed using entirely reclaimed materials. So everything you see around me, the inside, the outside, everything is reclaimed. The windows, the ceiling, the ceiling tin, everything is reclaimed. The only thing that is not reclaimed are the light fixtures, because at the point when we needed to put those in, it was COVID, and so we couldn't go estate sailing and that sort of thing.
Otherwise, you would have.
Otherwise, we would have, yeah. So all the knickknacks, everything you see is secondhand. Nothing is new.
Wow. And I assume all insulated, heated, air conditioned?
No, not air conditioned. It's insulated, but I have barn doors, so they're drafty. The windows, like I said, are reclaimed, so they're old, they're drafty. So it does get pretty cold in here in the winter. So I have a space heater behind me that I use in the winter, and then in the summer I just open the barn doors and fans and to keep it cool in here.
Let nature do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is your exclusive place to design, stitch, do all your needlework.
It's my little studio. It's we initially called it the she shed. That was a big term right around the time that my husband built it. So it was the she shed. And so yeah, this is my dedicated workspace.
Wow. And it's separate from the house, so you can just go out and just immerse yourself.
Yes, I was. He built it back in 2019 when I had just started embroidery previously that year, and I was pregnant with our second child, who was going to take over our only spare bedroom. So my husband, who is incredibly impulsive and incredibly energizer bunny, can't sit still. He's a woodworker by hobby.
Yeah.
Was like, I'm going to build you a workspace, and and my husband has ideas. I just say, okay,
Just
go.
get out of the way.
Yeah, just go. Okay. Because there's no stopping him. He'll steamroll you. So he's got an idea in his head. He's going to make it come in. And I have seen his visions come to life before. So I was like, okay, go ahead. So this is what came out of the shed. So I did have to slow him down a little bit so that I could partake in some of the design aspects
Yeah. Yeah.
that I wanted. Yeah. So I'm very lucky. He's an incredibly talented person.
Oh man, that's fantastic. So you got plenty of work surface and plenty of to move around and storage and the whole bit, huh?
Yes, the cabinet behind me, or I guess it's on this side. The cabinet behind me is fully functional. It was a mechanic's cabinet that we took out of an estate sale, and so my husband cleaned the whole thing out and degreased it, and then put a barnwood top on it. So that's all functional workspace. I store stuff in there. I don't store any of my kit supplies or threads in here. That's a lot of stuff. So that's all in the basement in our house, or lower level of our
Okay.
house.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, that's fantastic. And now do you with the windows and everything, you have enough light, or are
Oh
you?
yeah,
Yeah.
the lighting in here is excellent. I can't take photos of anything in the house to save my life because there's not enough natural light. We are in a forested area, so the house is, surrounded by trees, and just the lighting is just so perfect in the shed because I have these, well, you can see the one behind me, but also behind you, my computer, there's two very tall, like double paned windows. So
Oh,
great light.
excellent. And then from the pictures, and for people who are listening, I'll put pictures in the post and in the Instagram. But from the pictures, it looks like your whole yard is garden. I mean, and so much of your work is nature oriented. It looks like inspiration is just everywhere around you.
Oh yeah. Yes, we've done a lot to this property when we moved in. The house was in shambles and the
Yeah.
backyard was almost entirely brush. Just, no gardens, nothing, just brush. And so we've done a ton of excavating and all by DIY. Um, a ton of excavating and landscaping of ourselves around. But we've planted many a flower
Yeah.
and trees.
Yeah. Oh, looks fantastic. Well, next
Thank
time
you.
my sister lives in Washington Township, so
Yeah, you should stop
yeah,
by.
I'm gonna put you on the list and hunt you down. You bet. Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
S-
we did make it onto the cover of Country Home magazine a few
Yeah.
years ago, which was really fun to have someone come, professional, come out and do photos and everything, and they make everything just look so picturesque.
Yeah. Yeah. Good photographers know how to do that. Yeah, they can.
Oh my gosh, yeah,
Yeah. All the little flaws that you see, they make go away. Yep.
yeah, right.
Yeah, that's great. Wow. So 2019, this is the embroidery comes to be just because you need an outlet. I
Yes,
know, like
yeah.
from the notes, 2019, other than the pregnancy, was just kind of a crappy year for you.
So 2020 was a horrible year.
Yeah. Okay.
But 2019 was the lead up. But I would also say it was not the best year either because I did not enjoy my second pregnancy with my son. He ended up being 10 pounds,
Oh
and
no.
I'm 5'3", so
Oh
it was,
no.
so I can thank my husband for that also.
Oh,
He's
that's
six
not
three.
fair. That's not fair at
Yeah.
all.
Yes. So 2019 wasn't great either, but yeah, 2020 hit us hard, like it did for a lot of people.
Yeah. Yeah. So the you're a physical therapist.
Hmm.
Your job gets shut down,
Yep.
and so then embroidery. What makes you turn to embroidery as opposed to anything else?
Well, I had already been doing embroidery for a little while at that point when the shutdowns happened, and
Hmm.
I was on maternity leave with my son, and I got a call from my boss who's basically said, you unfortunately you won't have a job to come back to because we're gonna go under. We're gonna close the doors for good. It was a
Oh.
relatively new business, new clinic, and it was just her and I in the clinic, and she just couldn't withstand the closures. So she unfortunately had to close the doors. So I was at home with a 3-year-old and a newborn, and I was like, well, I have to make money somehow. So I decided I could teach other people how to do embroidery via Zoom.
Hmm.
So everyone was at home. Everyone was looking for something to do. So
Right.
I would send a full little kit in the mail, and then we would have a date and time set up, and I'd meet on Zoom, and I would teach a little super simple beginner sampler of like 11 or 12 different stitches and some of the basic knowledge of like what kind of fabric to use, what kind of thread to use, and then some tips and tricks and things, and just to get people started.
Yeah. Yeah. Did you have an art background, or did this just kind of?
No,
So you're one of those. Okay.
yeah, no art background whatsoever. I would, and I still to this day do not consider myself a crafty person. Embroidery is all I got. I'm a one-trick pony. That's all I can do. Don't ask. I'm like, I'm considered a handicap on the Pictionary team. It's not. It's they get extra points if I'm on the team. So
Can't even draw a decent stick figure, huh?
no, no, no. On Procreate, I've really got a hang of it, but because you can find so many ways to have it help you, to have it assist you in the drawing process. So it's been really fun to learn some other skills as a result of the embroidery.
So we talked to someone not too long ago who Procreate was her tool, and
Hmm.
I played with it for a while, and I found the learning curve to be a little stiff for my patience. But
Was that M Creative J? I listened to your podcast with her,
yeah,
and I feel like
yeah,
she did that also. Procreate, yeah, I love her work. She does beautiful stuff.
yeah.
Yeah, Procreate is definitely it can feel overwhelming because there's so much you can do with it.
Hmm.
It's so versatile. So sometimes it's kind of like where do you even start with something like that? But again, there's so many helpful tutorials out there, and people who also sell courses and things that you can take to get to know it better. But it comes in handy. It's a really cool program.
Hmm. Maybe I need to give it another shot because I can handle Photoshop, and for my job that I'm retired from, we used InDesign all the time.
Okay.
But the illustrative part just never I can never connect with it. So maybe it's worth another try. Not.
Yeah, I actually just launched a mini course
Oh, did
on
you?
Procreate. I did just simple for pattern making for embroidery. So to trace like a bouquet if you want to recreate a bouquet or trace a specific like floral arrangement to create a pattern out of it.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll check
The
that
mere
out then.
bounds.
So do you work?
Hmm.
Do you work from photographs when you create your pieces, or?
When I'm making kits, like for my beginner level or my intermediate level kits, those are my own designs. So those are just from scratch. I'm not copying anything. But when I'm making a wedding bouquet recreation, so I'm creating a replica of someone's wedding bouquet for a custom piece, then yes, I'm tracing the photo that they send me of their wedding bouquet using Procreate to create that outline, to create that pattern that I can then stitch from.
Okay. Oh, all right. So I got to play with this some more. So, all right. Okay. So we have two channels. We can go wedding bouquet and we can go embroidery. But since you brought up wedding bouquets, tell that
Sure.
story because that fascinates me.
So the wedding bouquets, I had a husband, not mine, but somebody else's husband, reach out and say, would you stitch my wife's wedding bouquet? And at that point, I was just taking custom orders. I don't think I had launched my kits yet. Maybe, I can't remember the timeline of it, but I don't think I had done kits yet. And I just thought, oh gosh, that's going to be such a hard thing to do, to replicate someone's wedding bouquet. It's so meaningful. It was a special gift, and just the, you know, wow, there's a big project,
Right.
a big
Right.
project. And to top it off, it was an entirely white bouquet.
Oh no.
No, no
Oh no.
dimension, no colors. And I said, his name was RJ. I said, RJ, I'm so sorry. I just really don't think I could do that justice. And he said, Hannah, I've seen your work. You can do this. He was so nice. He was so kind, so encouraging. And I said, okay, I'll try. So I did it for him, and I got such a good response from it. And then COVID, hit and everything, and I decided to do a giveaway that I would stitch someone's a COVID bride's wedding bouquet for free as a part of a giveaway on Instagram. And I had so many people reach out, and that really kind of set things going in motion with that. And I ended up doing two because I did one for free for the winner, and the girl who came in second place, her cousin reached out and said, I would like to pay for her to have hers done also.
Oh, oh. So, all right, let me understand this. So, people they have the bouquet, which is a three-dimensional piece you hold in your hands, and then you're
Mm-hmm.
taking that and you're converting it to well, there's still three dimensions to it, but basically
A
a
little, yeah.
two-dimensional stitched piece that helps them remember what that bouquet was like. Then,
Yeah, so a lot of girls like to do something to memorialize their wedding bouquet, whether it's a picture on the wall or a painting or pressed flowers or something to that effect. So what I do is basically just create a replica of their wedding bouquet that they can hang on the wall. But I have a style that is high texture and a little bit more third dimension or three dimensional than most traditional embroidery is. So I have them framed in a frame that allows for that depth. So
okay,
it's a little bit more of a modern take on it.
yeah. Yeah, because you put a lot of depth in your pieces. All of them have plenty of texture and depth. It's not like they're just laying there flat on the cloth.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So that took off. Now, was that kind of the catalyst for the business for Sherwood Forest Creations, or were you
No.
already you were already you were already working that without the bouquets?
I was really trying my hardest to grow on Instagram, in 2020, like everybody else, 2021, really trying. And I was just, it was kind of growing slowly. But then I had an acquaintance actually just say, you should get on TikTok. And I thought, oh, I don't want anything to do with that. I don't know anything about TikTok. I don't want to mess with that. And she's like, you have to, because she was doing marketing for another startup business. And so I got on it and I just started sharing the same videos that I was sharing on Instagram and doing more just kind of um, vlog style, I should say, videos that were, I guess, a little bit more behind the scenes, less curated videos. And I just had started having a few of them really take off. And that was what really escalated the business. And that was like mid 2021, I want to say, end
Uh
of
huh.
2021, somewhere around there. So that was what really did it. And it was um, particularly one video that did really well was just a video of me prepping the kits. So I already had kits out there and they were not selling.
Yeah,
They weren't
yeah,
going anywhere. They
yeah.
were sitting on the shelves. And I was prepping kits. And at the time, I would roll out a big bolt of fabric and I would put hoops in the fabric. I would hoop all the fabric and in rows, and I would take my scissors and I would cut it all out all at once. And it was
Oh,
just kind of a cool aesthetic. People really thought that was fun to watch, satisfying,
yeah.
um, and it just went from there.
Amazing. Because yeah, you put out. I mean, you put out these kits, and yeah, they went nowhere. I mean, that must have been a kind
Right.
of a punch in the gut then.
It was, and that was at the stage where at that point I'd been out of work from PT for a little over a year, and my husband was going, "So you think you're gonna go back
Oh,
to PT, or like, what do you think? What do you think you're gonna do here?" He's trying very gently, to
right,
just kind of ask me what my plan was at
right,
that point.
right.
I said, "Don't lose faith."
Yeah,
So um, and then really shortly after that, the kits took off, and I had TikTok to thank for that for sure. And as
yeah,
things grew on TikTok, then subsequently they started growing over on Instagram as well.
yeah. Ah, okay. So yeah, okay. Credit to your husband for being gentle.
He was gentle. He was very sweet about it. He wasn't trying to, but we still have bills to pay.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, 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 yeah. The reality is, there's still need a second
right.
income. That's right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
man. So So talk about your design work. I mean,
Hmm.
what because it's beautiful stuff, and
Thank you.
I want to spend some time. I want to learn how you do those old world roses because I really like the way you execute those. But
Oh, thank you.
talk about how you go about your design work. I mean, it's you have beginner and intermediate,
Hmm.
uh, and there seems to be a real focus on beginner level. Like you're really cultivating people who've never done it before.
Yes. So because I'm, in the world of embroidery, I would still probably be considered novice because I
Right.
started, I've only had 6 years in it, so 7 years. So my focus is I'm not trying to be something that I'm not. So I want to stick to what I'm good at and where I have something to offer. So for me, it's to encourage people who have never tried embroidery before to give it a go and to kind of push down or push back the pretense that embroidery is super challenging or hard to get into or elitist or exclusive in some way, or that you have to be a crafty person to um, do embroidery. So sorry,
Yeah.
my puppy is my puppy keeps hitting my
Oh,
camera
that's the
stand
dog.
underneath
That's the
my desk.
dog.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's my puppy. Sorry, that's Tater saying hello. Oh, so yes, it's I have always focused more on beginners because of that. It's like I just want to just come in. The water's fine. Like you never know where it will take you. And I just found it was just such a wonderful thing for me to find, not having been an artsy crafty person, to find something like this that that I immediately fell in love with and had found such joy in doing, that I
Hmm.
just wanted to like spread that, especially and I do kind of cater some of my content towards moms, young moms, especially because I had a toddler when I started doing embroidery. And I could do it at the park. I could do it when she was playing at my feet. I could do it when she was having snack time, when she was napping after bedtime. Like it was such an easy thing to pick up and put down. There's no setup, there's no tear down, there's no, other than that having to make sure my needles were not laying around.
Yeah.
there
Yeah.
was, there was nothing for her to get into like there would be if you were trying to do painting or something of that nature.
Right. Right. That's such an interesting dynamic because uh, yeah, if you don't have to go very far in the embroidery and needlework world to, especially if you have never done it before, to get really intimidated by what people can do. I mean, it's just mind blowing. I mean, as much as I've seen in the years we've been doing this, it still just knocks me over half the time when you see what some people can do with needle and thread. And
Yeah.
so you've kind of kept that to the side so that you could focus on what is going to connect with people who really want to give it a try.
Yeah, I really try to be multifaceted in everything that I do. So I like to I have my wedding bouquets that's my advanced level, that's my niche of where I'm taking my skills further and further in one
Hmm.
direction. But I'm still, on the other hand, holding out all these beginner materials to say, come here, come
Yeah.
join us. It's fine. You don't have to be doing these wedding bouquets right off the get go. You can just do this little cute little daisy and on a t-shirt, and it will be so fun. So I try to, you know, like I said, be multifaceted in that way.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, is your demographic? Have you been successful in reaching young mothers? I mean, is that your primary demographic? So that has paid off, or
I would say I have my demographic, when I look at my stats for like my mailing list and that sort of thing, it gathers all that type of demographic. And on socials, you can see that. And it is like 30 to 80,
oh,
women 30 to
okay,
80, but it is primarily women, but 30 to 80. So it's anywhere in between. But I've had a lot of people start with me back in those Zoom classes or in the first round of kits and everything that are now doing my advanced level course, like my advanced level floral course that I have out now. So they've gone on the journey with me
hmm.
through through this, So it's been fun to see people sticking with it.
Do those people create kind of a pressure that you need to keep feeding their meter? With
Well, to a certain extent, because I do get people who are like, well, we want more intermediate kits, or,
okay,
we want more. so that the advanced level floral course was my answer to that basically because I had a lot of people reach out and say, I want to stitch my own wedding bouquet, but I would need help with that. I would need help with those techniques. And people would ask me to create the pattern for them and then give them guidance, but I just don't have the time to give personalized guidance to every person who
Right.
wants to do that. So now I've created an option for people where I can make the pattern for them if they don't want to dance with Procreate. I can
Yeah.
make the pattern for them, and then they can take this advanced level floral course to learn how to stitch their own bouquet. So it's broken down into types of flowers. So then they can say, okay, I have, roses in my bouquet. And then I have a long tutorial on all the different ways I would do roses depending on size, shape, orientation, colors, that sort of thing, broken down that way so that they can customize it to their bouquet.
Okay. All right. So you're keeping them busy with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm keeping my advanced level people busy with that now. That was a new thing from this year, but then I'm still always bringing out new beginner level patterns because a lot of my people who like the beginner patterns, they're not necessarily trying to master
Right.
embroidery.
Right.
It's a hobby, it's just for fun. So they just want more kind of easy autopilot designs that are fun to make. So I do keep, turning those out.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we see that. Well, we see it to a great degree in the cross stitch world, where
Hmm.
I would suggest the majority of cross stitchers are in that same mindset. They don't. They're not looking to move ahead. They're just looking to
Right.
enjoy stitching at what they know and creating these pieces. They aren't trying to become some master craftsman or anything like that.
Right, right.
They just want to enjoy it. It's an escape, and like especially a young mother, your kids playing at the playground. I sit down on the
Yeah,
bench and get the stitching out. It's in my bag. It's easy to haul around. So yeah, I mean, there's a huge niche for that. No question. Yeah.
for sure. Yeah. If people they want to enjoy it. They want it to be enjoyable. So if,
Right.
so when I put a lot of French knots in a piece, I usually hear about it. I usually, I have a willow tree that's entirely French knot. The leaves are entirely French knot.
uh-huh.
And I did get a few messages about that.
Uh-huh.
How dare you? How dare you do this to me? All in jest, but,
Right. Right.
but of course.
Oh yeah, no, that dreaded, hated French knot. Yeah, you
And
can.
I love French knots. I
Yep,
love French knots. So
yep,
it's hard for me to not include them in a piece.
yeah. Well, once you get the hang of those things, they're really not difficult, and they are very
Right.
effective at
Hmm.
texture. And but boy, some people just can't. No matter
I
what,
know.
they just can't get it, and frustrates
Hmm.
them. Yeah, and I
Some of
know.
my,
Go ahead.
go ahead.
No, but I know that they look at it and they go, "Why can't I do this simple little thing? How
Hmm.
hard is this?" But they can't get it
Right.
to come out, and yeah, it drives people nuts. It's kind of humorous, but
Hmm.
I have sympathy for them. Yeah,
I try to include like all of my tutorial videos, like all my kits come with a step-by-step video tutorial stitching that design. So they're not just reference,
oh,
you
okay.
know, I'm stitching it in a straight line, now go stitch it in a circle. It's me stitching that exact pattern right along with you, edited down so that you're just seeing what you need to see. And so it's, succinct, but with the French knots and those types of stitches, I try to really throw in a ton of like tips, a ton of not just how to do it, but how to make it easier to do, things that will make it easier to do, little tricks that I've learned along the way that will help people get over the hump.
Yeah, yeah. Who was it I saw? I might not have this right, but somebody was showing how to do French knots one-handed. Yeah, I'm pretty
Oh
sure.
gosh.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was impressive. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, sounds impressive.
Yeah, and got it to work. So bravo for
Wow.
that. Yeah,
Yeah.
um, I'm out. I'll do, two hands are fine.
Right. Yeah.
Two hands
Yeah.
are fine. Yeah, yeah. So then,
For sure.
when it comes to your kits, a
Mhm.
video, but do you also include illustration and written directions, or are you relying
I
primarily
don't.
on? So the video is the tool.
Video. Yeah.
Yeah.
To me, when I was getting into the game, it was like, well, there's so many options already out there for embroidery kits. and if you go on Etsy or whatever, and I how am I going to make myself stand out from all of this other than just my designs? But for me, when I was trying to learn embroidery, to look at a picture, I have really horrible spatial awareness. So for me to look at a picture, I'm like, what's in and what's up and what's down? I don't know what you're doing.
Yeah.
So I can't, and to read it, absolutely not. So I needed that visual of watching someone's hands go through the whole step, because even a lot of the video tutorials I was finding online were edited down where you would just see one part of it. Like you'd see them coming up every time, but never the
Okay.
going down.
Uh-huh.
And even for that, even that for me, I was like, what is happening? So I wanted to make my kits catered to people who needed that visual guidance of how to do it. And I make my video tutorials incredibly beginner friendly and incredibly in depth, so that you will have no questions
Hmm.
when you're going through this. I honestly don't think I've ever gotten a single question pertaining to the actual stitching process for any of my kits. And I've sold over 7,000 kits, I think, at
Yeah.
this point. So,
So they're
so like
working.
I said, yeah, I really try to make them like, I mean, I put a lot of work into the video tutorials.
Yeah. That's and that's interesting because I think if you lined up 100 designers and put them in a room and said what is the part that you really don't like doing, it would be instructions.
Yeah.
Making notes all the way along as you're designing the thing, and then putting that
Hmm.
all together in instructions that people can understand. And I'm sure
Hmm.
people think, well, video, well, that's easy. Then that makes it, but there's no way that's easy. I mean, I've made videos for this stuff all the time. It sucks up
Yeah.
an incredible amount of time. So
Very timely.
you haven't eliminated the hard part.
No, not at all. No, no, it's just for me. I am a person who is long-winded, so
Yeah.
it would be very hard for me to write it out in a way that felt like it made sense without making it a chapter book.
Oh,
So
okay. Okay.
to me, it's easier to just, and I record it all with no voice. I record the process of the stitches, and then I have to edit it all down so that it's, like I said, I edit out all of the awkward pauses and things you don't need to see, and speed up certain parts and whatnot. And then I do a voiceover over top of it,
Okay.
explaining what I'm doing in words.
Okay. Yeah.
So you get the words, but they're
Yeah.
mixed in with the video. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And even then, I mean, that's just a lot of time. A lot of time
It
to
is.
do that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is, but it's worked for me so far, and people have really appreciated the videos, and that's so nice to get that feedback. People reaching out about, I've tried this before, I could never get it, and then seeing your videos, so it's really rewarding.
Yeah. Yeah. So classes, talk about what your classes are. You still
Mhm.
doing Zoom classes?
I don't do any more Zoom classes or in-person classes. No, I don't do any of those anymore because in 2023 I decided to, well, because it started to get too hard to do them because I have small children.
Yeah.
And it's like there's a window of when they're really little and they go to bed super early, so I could do them after
Right.
bedtime. But then when they're in the window they're in now, it's like they're in school, so the evenings that's my time with them. So,
Right.
and that's when you have classes because most people work, so you have to do it in the evening. So anyways, in 2023 I decided to create a full online course using the material that I was originally teaching in the Zoom class times like 10. So I just really um, made it even more in depth and really broadened the scope of the class. So not only are you learning 11 different embroidery stitches step by step with those video tutorials, you're also learning all about fabric, all about all the different products you might use with embroidery: needles, friction pens, stick and stitch patches, and what they are and how to use them. And then a whole section on stitching on clothing and whatnot. Oh, my dog is chasing a mouse.
Oh
the
no.
dangers of the dangers of the woods. Um, uh, all the different things that you would need to know when you first start embroidery, and then lots of tips and tricks. Different knotting techniques. It's just much more in depth, and a whole section on stitching and clothing. If I didn't already say that, but um, So I just made it a lot more broad. So that's my beginner level course. And then they get a couple of patterns in that course too to kind of get them started with after they've learned those 11 different stitches. And we talk about like choosing stitches, like how to choose a stitch when you're making a design and that sort of thing. And then I have that mini course making patterns out of a picture, like how to make an embroidery pattern out of a picture, how to scale it to size, how to transfer it onto your fabric and whatnot. And then I also have now this advanced level course that is for my florals, for my people who want to do,
Uh-huh.
the higher level floral
Yeah.
pieces. So,
Yeah.
and that one is also um, very in depth, very in depth, and broken up into those sections by flower type, and we do go over some concepts of like layering and that sort of thing as well.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting how you're adapting your business to basically what phase your kids are in. But then if you
Life of a
think,
mom.
yeah, but then if you think it through, your demographic, uh,
Yeah,
you're connecting with them because yeah, they can't always sit down at 7 o'clock at night for an online class. Yeah, can't
right.
do it. Yep.
Because even I was running into the issue of being in Michigan that if I wanted to start a class at say 6 o'clock, you have people in Washington who are it's 3 o'clock. They're still at work. They can't
Right.
get there at 6 o'clock. So, and weekends were off limits again because of the kids. So the online course has been really wonderful. I just hit 1,000 members, which was really fun, a big milestone for the course. And I've tried to keep the price really reasonable so that it's not again that there's more of a welcoming effect of jump in, come on, it's
Yeah.
if you've got if you've got um, the will to do it, then I've got it here for you type of thing. I'm going to put it all on a platter for you so that you're not standing at the craft store, staring into the oblivion of thread, not knowing what to choose.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the first time I went to the craft store, I picked up cross stitch fabric because I didn't know what I was
Oh,
doing.
okay. Uh
So
huh. Yeah. Yeah. So what is your day like with two kids? They're both in school.
they're both in school now. So now you can see me keep looking over. My puppy is my
Yeah.
child. No,
Yeah.
it was not a mouse. It was a bumblebee. So just to
Oh.
clarify
Oh
what he
boy.
was going after. Um, my kids are both in school full time now, but summer break is about to be
Yep.
upon us. So summer will look different. But this starting in January of this year was the first time that both kids were in school full time.
Uh-huh.
Previous to that, my son is in preschool. So previous to that, it was 2 days, 2 mornings a week, and my
Yeah.
I've had my mom though. My mom has babysat my kids 2 days a week since they were born. So
Mm.
and she's also my only employee for the business. She helps me package kits. So I call her the floss fairy because I send her home with embroidery thread and she bundles it for me into the little color palettes for my different kits and brings
Okay.
it back to me already bundled up.
Okay. Oh, it's so interesting because on the day we're recording this, um, uh, yeah, you and I were scheduled, and our daughter uh, has two boys,
Hmm.
and one of the boys had some allergy problems, and she had him go into a day camp. And it was, I got to go to a meeting because she works at home, but then she has to go to meetings. And it was, can somebody come and get him? And so when you talk
Right?
about
Yeah.
you talk about
Oh
your
yeah.
mother, it's like, yeah, yeah, you need that. And so
Oh
my,
yeah.
you know, my wife in the car and out the door, and
Right.
yep, yep, go get the
Yeah.
kid. Yeah,
It's always a juggle, and there's always a lot of spinning plates. And I think more than anything, the most difficult part is having planned time to do something and then having that plan go right out the window.
right,
So,
right, yeah,
like with your daughter,
yep,
when you think, oh, I'm going to have these 3 work days, solid work days this week, and then somebody's sick,
yep,
somebody's hurt, or school's canceled, snow day. We had
yeah,
so many
yep,
snow days this year. So,
yep, yep,
so
all those things.
what can you do?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and that's just it. So on a typical day, if you actually get one, then you have what, a 5 or 6 hour window where they're at school
Yeah.
where you can actually work. But then of course I'm sure there's grocery shopping and laundry and blah 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 that has to fit in there too.
Well, my husband and I are pretty good about having an equal partnership. So he recognizes my, my business as my full-time career, and it's replaced my PT career. So at this point, we try to share things as evenly as we can. So when I'm working, I'm working.
Okay,
I'm not
okay,
doing, I'm not, if maybe I'll throw a load of laundry in just because that's practical, but
yeah,
I'm not gonna spend my work time, cleaning the house or doing anything like domestic at that point. But yeah, I have to get the kids to school, and I gotta, and most days I'm picking them up too. So I have that, 9:30 to 3
right.
window of time to squeeze everything in. But a small business owner, I mean, I'm working all the
Yeah,
time. So
yeah. Oh yeah, yeah.
yeah.
When did you realize that this was your full-time job and physical therapy was in the rear view window? That one, yeah.
Well, when my husband, like I said, so gently, he's like, will you, what are you thinking?
We
What are your
need to do
thoughts?
a
What are
show
your
with
thoughts?
him. We need to do a
Yeah.
show with him. Yeah.
What are your thoughts on this? I said, well, I said, what would be great is if because, I worked really hard to get my physical therapy degree. It's a doctorate.
Right. Oh my.
So I didn't,
Oh, that's
it's just,
full
yeah,
tilt then. Oh my.
and we still had a lot of, my husband's a physician assistant. So we still had a lot of student debt, going into creating this business. Um, so I didn't want to lose my license and all that sort of thing. So I thought, well, what would be great is if I could just get a contingent position, meaning you just go in when they need you once in a while, whenever, somebody's on sick leave or maybe maternity leave, or just like somebody wants to take vacation, you just pop in and work a shift. Nurses work like that a lot. So
Hmm.
I went on Indeed, and right down the road from me, there was a clinic who was looking for that exact thing. And
Oh,
so I ended up taking that position with them. And so I might not work an entire a shift in 6 months, but then I'll go in and I'll work a couple of shifts for somebody on vacation. Um, and then that might be it for another 2 months, something like that. So it's been great because I can keep my foot in the door, keep my skills and everything in that set. But we joke that my side hustle became my full time career. My full time
yep.
career became my side hustle.
Yep.
so
Uh,
so it's great, and nothing. I mean, you can't tell me that anything is certain. After I never thought in a million years that as a physical therapist that I would ever lose my job, be
right.
laid off in
Oh
some
yeah.
way, as a medical person. You don't. That's just unheard of. So
Right.
you can plan until the cows come home, but that doesn't mean
Right.
anything. So,
Oh yeah, yeah.
um,
In the healthcare world, yeah, you should have a log, especially if you've gone all the way PhD level. Yeah, there should never be
yeah,
any question. Yeah. Oh boy.
yes. So, so you can, like I said, nothing is impossible. So,
Right.
so
Right.
now, yeah, yes, the embroidery has now become my full-time career, and the PT is my side hustle once in a while. Um, but basically, I would say in that end of 2021, by that point where it was like, oh, this is replacing my income from what I was making as a PT before. Like, we're really doing it. I'm looking around going, oh my gosh, this is happening. Like, this is, wow, cool, right on. Let's
Yeah.
keep going, and so we just kept going.
Wow. Excellent.
I say we, I guess I mean I.
Well, no, but yeah, no, but it is because you just described that without your husband
Yeah,
as a true
of
partner,
course.
you probably don't get it done.
Right. No.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's wonderful. He's incredibly supportive of the whole thing. He thinks it's awesome. He tells everybody he meets. He's very sweet. So he he just the other day brought the magazine article in and it's from several years ago at this point, but he brought it into work because there were new employees and he wanted
Oh.
to show them the magazine article. So he's
Excellent.
very proud, and it's very sweet.
Oh, that's great. Well, plus you wouldn't have that really cool workplace. Come on.
True. And the shed has its own identity. So I think the shed
Yeah.
has its own fan page. So
Yeah.
um it's been incredible.
Yeah. So go back to these bouquets because
Hmm.
I often wonder for artists, designers, what they do to stretch themselves. So
Hmm.
the bouquets, that's your little place to stretch your skills.
Yeah, for sure. Well, because I'm forced to, because the bouquet, I don't get to choose the bouquet. I
Right.
open my commission slots. I only take 3 or 4 a year, typically only three, because they take me over 40 hours to complete. And like you just said, I've limited work hours with on the daytime and good lighting. So I typically only take three, and the spots get eaten up right away now, which is truly incredible. I didn't expect that at all, but I don't get to choose the bouquet. So when I get the bouquet sent to me, and sometimes I'm going, oh my gosh, yes, this is amazing. This bouquet is glorious. It's gorgeous. It has all these incredible things, and I can't wait to stitch it. And sometimes I'm going, oh no, how am I going to do this? Not that it's not a beautiful bouquet, but they more technically, how am I going to create
Right.
that type of flower, that type of, I'm working on a bouquet right now that has succulents in it.
Oh
And
no.
I was thinking, what in the heck? How am I going to do this? So just the thought process of,
Yeah.
going through those things definitely makes me stretch my creativity and my artistic skill. And with those, I definitely do more of like like I guess you would consider thread painting, but with a higher strand count because I like them chunky. So
Yeah.
I like the texture, like you said. So um, it's really I love to do the wedding bouquets. They're challenging, but they're in the best way challenging.
So that's what stretches the mind then.
Oh
Yeah.
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 Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a purple and orange one that I did last year. I think I sent a picture of it too. The That was incredibly whimsical, and so it had all of these really like dainty elements to it, and so it was a lot of one strand work, which again is not my typical style.
Yeah.
But to do that, it was I was so happy with how it turned out.
Yeah. I'm just sitting here thinking, how would you do succulents? Uh,
I haven't even, well, I had to do part of it because I don't even know what they're called, but it was like a orb shape,
okay.
kind of purpley, pearlescent ball with the greenery around it. And so I really had to build it up, like just lots of layers. And
Uh huh.
then I played with a couple of different things, and I ended up mostly just kind of doing like a satin stitch over top of a lot of layers.
Okay.
And then adding in little accents with that type of thread painting kind of idea to get it to be the right shape.
Uh huh.
Um, but there's also like chicks and hens in there. So
Oh my.
it's it's a beautiful bouquet. So I'm sure it will be great when it's done. But you know, it's always a little daunting when you have a piece that has some unexpected
Right.
elements in it. Yeah, other than when you get a bouquet that's all roses, it's like, oh, happy.
Yeah.
Like, oh,
Right.
this will be easy and
Yeah.
fun.
Well, that's a
So
creative mind that put that together with hens and chicks too. Holy smokes!
yeah,
It must have been
so it's
heavy.
fun. It looks heavy, yeah. It
Yeah.
looked heavy, but it's
Yeah.
it's lots of bright like white and pink, and it's a fun anemone. It's a fun bouquet.
Oh, that's different. That's different. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, I mentioned, and we're going to run out of time, and I don't want to miss out. I mentioned about the your old world roses because
Yes.
you really nailed them. It looks like you're using
Thank you.
all 6 strands DMC.
I always use DMC embroidery thread. I typically never use any other type of thread or a thread floss, anything different like pearl cotton. I usually don't use anything other than regular 6 strand embroidery thread. But with my roses, my trick, I'll let you in on the trick,
Okay.
is that I use 6 strands looped to make
Yes,
12 strands.
that's okay because that's what it looked like. You did something to
Yes.
loosen them up. Okay.
So I take an extra long piece, like a double arm's length piece of 6 strands, and then thread my needle to the center, and then tie the two ends together. So I have basically a closed circuit, like a loop of of 6 strands, but now I'll be technically stitching with 12 strands.
Yeah.
So, and then I do it that way, and it creates a ton of texture and volume and a looseness, like you said, to the rose, so it's not so tightly wound like a bullseye.
Yeah.
That's my trick for my big fluffy roses.
Oh, good trick because it's really effective. I'm a
Yeah.
rose. I grow roses. I used to grow. I
Oh,
used to
okay.
Used to have 150 of them when we lived in
Wow.
Illinois. Now I have 5 in a planted box. But so I know roses, and old
Hmm.
world roses are, from a stitching perspective, I've not seen them done well, and you seem to have found the trick
Oh, thank you.
because yeah,
Yeah,
they work.
I have Grandma's Blessing roses right out front of the shed, and they have that really big unfurling. Like they're
Yeah,
not so, I have knockouts up front, and they're much like of a tighter
right.
coil, but the Grandma's Blessing, and that's kind of what I was going for, is that like just big, um, open kind of vibe.
Excellent. So you're taking an extra long piece of 6 strand.
Hmm.
And how are you loosening it up? I mean, I understand making the loop, but how are you loosening it up? Because I mean, they're spun pretty tight.
Well, when I'm stitching, so you're basically stitching like twice with one stitch because you're getting those 6 strands, and they're not actually like glued together. So
Right.
you're getting the looseness of it when you stitch. And then once I'm done, I always use the tip of my needle to push the layers towards the center. And I just like kind of rake them towards the center, and that
Okay.
pushes them up that way. So then when you do that, it creates lift. So then sometimes you have to add an extra, you know, add more around the outer edge again because you've kind of pushed it into the center. And then you gotta sometimes go back in and add more. But brushing it with a needle that way and using the 6 strands looped to make 12 strands gives you the oomph.
Ah, well played. Well played. Because it works. It works really well. It's
Yeah, just some experimenting along the way.
yeah.
And where that comes from is my impatience because I was like, there's got to be a faster way to do this. And that's kind of with me with everything is I can cover more space. I can
Right.
cover more space in less time.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Right. Hannah, excellent. Thank you so much. Wow. What a
yeah,
ride. Good for you. Excellent.
yeah. Thank
Yeah.
you. Thanks.
Yeah. So we got something new coming up that people can look for.
The advanced level course is my newest thing right now, and but then
Okay.
I'm always, like I said, adding to my beginner level course, my beginner level kits, and the stick and stitch patches are one of my most popular
Oh,
items too
thank
for
you.
stitching on clothing.
Thank you. Thank you. I meant to ask about those. Talk about those stick and stitch
Yeah,
patches. Yeah.
yeah. So stick and stitch, there's several different brands that make stick and stitch paper. It's water soluble, adhesive, stabilizer. And I print my own designs onto the paper, and I sell the patches ready made. So you can get my designs on the stick and stitch paper. You just peel it and stick it onto t-shirts, hats, tote bags, blankets, baby items, that sort of thing. You stitch right through it, and then you wash the paper away in water, and you're left with just your stitches. So again, just like with all of my beginner level kits, my beginner level stick and stitch patches come with a step-by-step video tutorial. So they're still meant for beginners. If you can start with stick and stitch, even if you've not done traditional like
Yeah.
embroidery in a that's going to stay in a hoop or be framed in some way. So
Okay.
they're lots of fun.
Yeah. Well, and embroidery on clothing is rather popular these days. So,
It's really making a comeback. Yeah,
yeah.
for sure. It's super fun. Yeah. Jean jackets. I do all my daughter's little jean jackets with little designs. She's got a little penguin. She's got little, daisies and that sort of thing. And baby items. It's really nice to customize, a baby gift for someone. I
Right.
have a lot of monogram designs to choose from and that sort of thing.
Yeah. Excellent. Okay. Now I'm done. Thanks so much,
Okay.
Hannah. That was
Yeah.
fantastic.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks for
Yep.
having me.
Appreciate it. At SherwoodForestCreations.com is the website. Check it out. Hannah Arnold, thanks so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks to everyone for listening.